it just becomes another sort of state you try to hold on to. Or you start to notice from that state of openness, something can finally start to move in you. Something can start to move in you. Something of great intelligence, great love, great selflessness, great compassion. That's where it moves from. And that's the place that sometimes, if you have sort of a fierce moment of grace, that you get so challenged that you stop struggling. And all of a sudden, in that fierceness, that moment of incredible challenge that may overwhelm you, you just stop. Or it stops you. I remember being told in a gathering like this years ago about a guy who was driving down a windy road in the mountains late at night. He was very, very sleepy. Twisty mountain road. He suddenly wakes up. His car has gone off the road, gone straight in a corner. He'd gone to sleep. He wakes up just tipping the treetops of about 80-foot tall pine trees. His car is just flying, tipping the tops of the 80-foot tall pine trees. He wakes up. That's where he is. Can you imagine? The middle of the night. Last thing you knew, you were on the road, kind of sleepy. Well, and all of a sudden and at that moment, all of a sudden, something in him completely stopped. Completely and utterly stopped. And he said, he survived actually. Those trees kind of took the brunt of the car's descent enough that he survived this. And it actually opened his whole spiritual life. Because he said, at 80 feet high, cresting, just skimming those treetops of those pine trees that I had gone off the road, I said, I woke up and something was just so overwhelmed that my whole system stopped. And he says, that moment, that was the greatest peace I'd ever experienced in my entire life. That car cresting those treetops. And ever since that time, he had been asking, how do I get that back? Of course, right? How do I get that back? So that moment was obviously you wake up, your senses, your mind, everything would just be so instantaneously overloaded that it just stops. It's like goes on tilt. And when that mechanism stops, there's no problem. Even death, car pummeling off the road through trees, is not a problem. So in moments of great challenge, and they can be big moments of challenge when big things happen, like your car skimming the top of 80-foot tall pine trees, or they can be moments of small challenge when you're maybe sitting in a room like this and you're in a state of confusion or turmoil or something's difficult going on in your life, whatever it is, those moments of challenge, what we've been taught is in various ways to contract, try to figure it all out, come up with a solution. We haven't been taught to listen to the space between the notes. Because we haven't been taught that there's anything worthwhile in those space between those notes. We've just been taught it's just space, it's just quiet. But moments of real challenge can really open us to those moments. They might not. You might just keep contracting and keep trying to figure it out and get in more confusion and all the rest. But see, eventually, at some point, you just realize, you just stay there. You just stay in that car, 80 feet above the ground, skimming the treetops. You just stay in that place. I mean, why not? Just because you realize that is what gives you access to not only the greatest peace, but the greatest sort of intelligence of how to act and react, how to move, how to respond.